So, the Gloam-Eyed Queen. It's Melina, right? That's what we figured out from the frenzied flame ending. That is Melina. She is the Gloam-Eyed Queen. She talks about destined death. She wants to kill us after we blow up the entire world. But hey, how the heck does that work? Because last time I checked, I thought she was like dope. Well, actually, I wasn't really sure what she was. Now, I came across a little bit of a revelation while I was taking a look at some of the other Empyrean weapons in Elden Ring, particularly the one held by the Nox and the one we get at the end of the game when we punch Radagon in the face so many times that the Elden Beast just says, screw it, get him over here, and turns him into a sword. So, let's jump into the city of the Nox, will we? Well, the Nox and the Newman, because while they were on the surface of the lands between, they were infatuated with the night sky. They loved it. They loved the stars, and they loved it so much that they had contact with an outer god who wanted to bring in an age of stars. And they had a creepy looking Cthulhu uh, dude, like Cthulhu Moses. I think his name is Ool. At least I'm gathering that from the Ool Palace ruins. But anyway, this guy uh, was a great leader, apparently. They worshipped him with statues and temples, similar to how people in the Age of the Earth Tree do with America. And, well, with people who love the stars, typically we'd call those people astrologers. And, yeah, kind of figure that the astrologers of the time, when looking at the night sky, looking for their outer god to come and bring in their age of stars, might see a particular golden star heading their way at 95 million miles an hour. And, well, they probably wanted a bit of a contingency plan for that because their god didn't tell them about that. No, that was a different one. That was the golden star with the elden beast and the earth tree. Thank you, greater will. So what does Mr. Ool do? Oh, well, he does anything any rational person does. NASA, we launch things at asteroids and try to knock them off course of the Earth. This guy, dies and turns himself into a knife. So, yeah, apparently the bodies of Empyreans can be turned into weapons. And this particular guy turned himself into a small little pocket knife, and that was apparently supposed to help them kill some creepy eldritch god. Well, obviously that didn't work because the Nox and the Newman got shoved underground with all their cities and everything by another Newman named America, who's like, no Age of Stars for you guys, not for me either. I'm gonna build a giant tree, and it's gonna be great. So then, our Tarnish comes along, and we go wandering through the lands between, punching America's children in the face, getting all these other parts of the Elden Ring because she broke it. Um, and, well, we meet her second husband, the other part of herself, which is Radagon. And, well, he doesn't fare too well, and I think he just kind of also dies. And that's when the Greater Will's like, okay, sure. Well, that one guy turned into a knife, so I'll just make this guy a sword. And, yeah, then we kill that, and then we get him as a sword. Now, take a look at these swords. Do you notice anything in particular? Do you see how they kind of have the same sort of weaving double helix sort of pattern? I think I think there's another sword like that, but we'll get to that in a hot second. But before that, welcome to Faramazula, the ancient city of the dragons, with the ancient dragon lord Placidusix. Not dragon lord, sorry, Elden Lord. Uh, Apparently, there were Elden Lords before the Age of the Earth Tree, which makes sense because when another outer god, the one that the dragons liked, was ruling the lands between, his Empyrean vessel had the Elden Ring, and that would have to be the wife of Placidusix. That's why Placidusix is classified as an Elden Lord. He's married to the person who has the Elden Ring. And, well, how does that work, Void? I don't understand. Well, if we look at Faramazula, we see a couple of statues. We see a human king and a human queen and a little baby. So, remember that little bit when you stabbed Vike multiple different times in multiple places across the continent, and you learned from some of his like weapons and stuff that there was a war between Lanedell and the Erd Tree with the remainder of the ancient dragons of Fair Missoula. And when Golden Boy Godwin decided to not kill all the dragons and became their best friends, and everybody was happy, dragons started shapeshifting into humans and teaching the humans different super cool lightning dragon magic. And that was cool. Lancey X was cool. Vike, what did you do? Anyway, so we know from that Placidusax can shapeshift into a human being, and that's who I think this king statue is. So that means the queen is probably the previous vessel for the Elden Ring. She's unnamed as far as I could tell from my looking at different items and stuff. But if we let's jump over to a little bit beyond time and find our lovely boy Placidusax. Look at him. Look at him standing there with only 2 out of the 4 heads. So you know how Fair Missoula is floating through the sky? I don't think anyone in America's army could actually get to Fair Missoula. Not without wings. So there's ruined fragments you can pick up all across the map, and they tend to be near broken off pieces from the city of Fair Missoula that have just crashed onto the lands between. They were struck by a meteor, probably the same golden meteor that slapped the lands between in the face with planting the Erd Tree and stuff. So it crashed through into, I think gosh, sorry, hang on, let me piece this together here. So either the meteor crashed with the Erd Tree and the Elden Beast, and then America became its vessel and went to war on the lands between. Or the meteor crashed into Fair Missoula, and parts of the golden meteor scattered across the lands between. And we do find pieces of it all across the lands between. We find some in the consecrated snowfields. We find some in like various ruins and mines all across, like in Celia, um, in the Kaled Wilds, in all of these all around these mines, typically where there's like onyx lords or other things or astels coming out of like these giant, like the golden meteor is just making things come to life. Um, so I think a piece of it had the gold or the Elden Beast, and that thing stuck around in Fair Missoula and fought with Placidusax. I think that's what cut off Placidusax's 2 of the 4 heads, and then Placidusax is like, "Oh, this is bad," so he just leaves. He flies off into a tornado beyond time, and well, then his wife just kind of is left there alone and dies, facing down this gigantic, horrible monster. Um, so then, Marika, being the brainiac she is, um, takes the Elden Ring from the Queen of Fair Missoula, and, well, the Greater Will doesn't like death very much, so it decides to just kind of leave the Rune of Death behind. Problem. Placidusax had a kid, and we know that this kid was a girl, simply because Malekith's boss room has a statue of a young girl surrounded by 3 wolves. Do you remember at the beginning of the game when you first meet Ronnie? She gives us a spirit calling bell and spirit ashes that we can summon to help us punch the tree sentinel in the face. What is that ash? What does that summon? 3 wolves. That spirit calling bell was given to Ronnie to give to us by who? Torrent's former master. Who was Torrent's former master? Melina. Don't know why she didn't give it to us at the beginning of the game, but hey, that probably would have been too much of a close thing. I don't know. They like throwing in random stuff that all is interconnected. But anyway, so I think that when the Queen of Fair Missoula died, and the dragon god was then forced to leave the lands between because his vessel was killed, and then his influence was forced out of the lands between. He had no other vessels, no other Empyreans, and I don't think Melina was an Empyrean. She's a demigod, but she's not an Empyrean. Um, Otherwise, the dragon god didn't have to leave. It could have just possessed Melina, and then she could have went to like a real war against America. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, Melina, I think, took the body of her dead demigod or dead god mother person. She took her mother, turned her into a sword. Sorry, it's just that's how fast it just happened. Um, what sword? Well, isn't it obvious? The Gloam-Eyed Queen had a great sword, the god-slaying great sword. Look at this thing. Look at it. It's all twisty, just like all the other Empyrean weapons. It's pretty cool, and it's imbued with the Black Flame of Death. We know the Gloam-Eyed Queen used this sword in battle. In battle against who? The demigods. Other demigod children of America. And we know that America has more demigod children than the ones we fight in game. All those turtle mausoleums that are just walking around and we use to like duplicate other souls, those are other children of America, other demigod children, unnamed, dead. Were they killed by the Gloam-Eyed Queen? Maybe. I don't really know. I don't really care. The really cool thing for me is the fact that I think that Melina is the daughter of Placidusax, so that she, seeing the wounding of her father, the driving away of her god, the murder of her mother by Marika and the Elden Beast, she takes the Rune of Death and her mother, forges those two things together into a new Empyrean corpse sword, just like the Elden Beast does to Radigan, just like the weird Moses Ool guy gets turned into a little dagger. She does the same thing for the God-slaying greatsword. Then she goes on this murderous campaign, collecting the Godskin apostles to help her fight against Marika. Marika's like, whoa, that's a problem, and she sends Malekith, like a good dog, to go fight off Melina. Malekith kills Melina. Now, nobody during the Age of the Erdtree actually stays dead. They die and are eventually reborn through the roots of the Erdtree at the base of the Erdtree. They're reborn. So, Malekith kills Melina, the Gloam-Eyed Queen, before he has power over the Rune of Death. He has to kill her to get the Rune of Death from her. So, she's dead, and she's forced into Erdtree burial. Malekith then has the Rune of Death and imbues it within his sword, and then he's the guy who controls destined death. Then, later on down the line, Marika's like, whoa, the Greater Will's kinda nuts. This Elden Beast is also pretty creepy. I kinda want to be free from that. How in the world do I get free from this? And she knows Melina will eventually be reborn through the Erdtree. So she puts a plan in place. This girl is going to be reborn, and she's eventually going to reclaim memories about destined death, wanting to burn the Erdtree, wanting to defeat the Greater Will. So Marika waits, and she waits until Melina's reborn from the Erdtree, and she gives Melina a new purpose, to burn as kindling in the flame of ruin, to burn the Erdtree, and to guide a Tarnished to the way of destined death. Then that Tarnished is going to come back through, bust into the Erdtree, kill the Elden Beast, and Marika's going to rule the world forever. Because, well, then it's just her being the new god of the world, and the Greater Will's gone. But, yeah, that's when our Tarnished is like, no, we're gonna burn the whole world down with the Frenzied Flame ending. Melina doesn't actually have to burn herself in the kiln, so she stays alive. So when you kill Malekith and burn the Erdtree, you unlock the flame, or the Rune of Death. She gets all of her powers back, all of her memories back. She gets her purple eyeball back. The one that Malekith stole, turned into like a magical sonar symbol to like help you find the death route so then he could try to not be hungry all the time. Yeah, that. I think that Melina is the daughter of Placidusax. She watched her mom die. She vowed vengeance on America, started killing a bunch of demigods to try to get to America. America sends Malekith. Malekith kills Melina. Melina's reborn through the Earth Tree. And then the Tarnished is like, hey, Flame of Frenzy ending, instead of, following America's plan. So then Melina's like, I got all my powers back. Where is my sword? That's my understanding of the Flame of Frenzy ending. Thank you. Have a good day.